Hey guys, welcome to Any Last Words. I'm your host, Joe. Thanks for being patient, guys. I appreciate it. I know we got a little bit of a late start. I've been a busy bee today. This is my third show. I've been sitting in this seat for over 2 hours right now. So, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Goody and Cam, for joining. I very much appreciate it. My guest tonight is Mr. Eric Garcia. How are you doing?
Hey, long time no see, sweetie.
I know. We were just talking about it's been like about a year since we've seen each other. I think next month will be about a
Yeah,
year.
yeah, that was we met at Shockfest in Vegas, and was that November? I think it was November.
It was.
No,
It
yeah, I
was.
think yeah. So yeah, we're coming up on a year now, but we've stayed in contact this whole time, and I follow you on Facebook, and you got the funniest memes on Facebook. What was that
Thank you.
one
I steal
today?
them,
Yeah, hey, I call it nothing wrong with being a meme thief.
right?
Okay, that one today you had, if you haven't been chased around the house by your sibling running with a knife, then you can't understand me or something. I was
Yeah,
laughing.
then
Yeah,
I that's
I
funny
have.
because I'm an 80s kid. There was a lot of like we didn't wear helmets for shit, so we did crazy off the wall stuff.
Yeah, you had to be tough to survive the '80s. If you were a kid in
Yeah.
the '80s, you had to be tough. And I grew up in the Midwest, so we rode back around in the back of a truck, no
Uh,
seatbelts. I mean, they would have
mm-mm.
conniptions these days. We were tough.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to since I've last seen you, sir?
Well, I've been traveling as much as possible. So, to give your listeners a little bit of a background on me, my name is Eric. I'm a Gemini. I enjoy long walks in the park, and my turn. Oh, I'm sorry, different kind of. That's a different kind of app. So basically, I've always been like into like the paranormal, and about a couple of years back, I started a YouTube channel because I read tarot cards, and it was about tarot cards at first. And then after about a year, I changed the format to another passion of mine, which is travel. So on my YouTube channel, Wildcard Journeys, it for me it's combining my passion, which is travel, with my fascination, which is the paranormal. So, in two words, it'd be paranormal travel. And I use the term wildcard journeys because I didn't want to box myself into one category. I didn't want it to be just ghost hunting or just aliens or Bigfoot or only that. I wanted to give it a little bit. What is a wild card? It can be anything. So that gives me a little more freedom if I just want to put a regular travel video up there, something that's not paranormal, but could be interesting. So it gives me a little bit of freedom. So I've been going on road trips. I go on ghost tours, and I work with different ghost tour companies. And I was just in Austin, Texas last week, and I was filming a few videos there. I worked with a ghost tour company out there, and the video is going to be something interesting because we caught something that it's going to be quite interesting. I'll tell you a little bit more about it because we're on another thing here, but we caught some really interesting footage, and it's a little ghost bouncing around me.
What?
Yeah,
I want to see that.
those SLS scanners that shoot out with infrared, and if there's a ghost, it like
Hmm.
appears as a stick figure. Well, where we were at. I was talking to the ghost of a little girl, and then you see a few minutes later, this little tiny stick figure is bouncing around me for like the rest of the time we're there. So maybe,
Wow.
like, yeah, it felt, but I didn't feel threatened or scared at all. And I just heard her story, and I'm an uncle. I've got like a dozen nieces and nephews, so when I hear that, I talk to her, and so it was a really interesting experience. I'm going to release probably this week. I went to the gas station where the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was filmed at,
I
and that
saw
was
that. I was so jelly. I was like, man.
yeah. They serve an awesome brisket there too. They got a huge smoker
Oh.
out front. I mean, just to stay there with the connection it has with the movie, that's awesome by itself. But the food they serve is insane, and their own sauce is like brought me to tears. And I'm Mexican. I
Oh.
should be able to handle it. Okay, but I was like, okay, wow,
I
alrighty then.
love Texas barbecue.
Oh my
It's
god.
like the best. It is the best.
Yeah,
Oh.
so I'm going to try and release that video this week for the Texas Chainsaw filming location. And when I go back there, maybe the next month or two, I'm going to try and track down the house as a follow-up video. the house, because there's like different houses associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably next week or two after that, I'm going to release the Austin Haunted Tour video. That's going to be a two-parter because there was just so much that went on in there. It's going to be a two-part video series, so I'm very happy about that. And so also in about another 5 or 6 weeks, I'm going to be going to Medellin, Colombia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a couple of like let's just say paranormal locations down there. I don't want to give anything away just yet that
Okay.
are like very unique. And I've never been to Colombia before. That's usually my criteria of travel. Have I been there? And is it a war zone? If it's no on both, then hey, I'll book a ticket. Okay. So yeah, that's what I have coming up. I just every chance I get, I try to travel because it's cathartic for me. I enjoy it. And people that follow my channel, even friends of mine, they're like, some people, it's important with YouTube travel channels. There's a lot of people that for one reason or another, they're not able to get out and travel or, and so they really watch these videos and they enjoy the videos because it's like traveling, through osmosis for them,
Yeah.
and people have commented about that in my videos. And it just feels really good when I hear that. So when I go out there to make more, I just want to it's like, what? I want to do a good job for these people that would like to come here, but for one reason or another, they can't make it out here yet. So I want to make it a really enjoyable video for them, and I want them to see it. I want them to laugh, So, and that's another thing about the paranormal, my approach for the paranormal, because I see so many people out there, who all want to be the next Ghost Adventures, and they talk like Zach Bagans and the whole thing, and they try to get all this drama in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd rather bring if I find something cool, but I'd rather bring some humor to it, and just I accept that there are ghosts there. Okay, but I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I just want to see what I find out and have fun with it.
You guys should for sure check it out. There is a link in the description. You guys can go and follow some of that. I have to ask, because you've been to a lot of paranormal places. Does
Mm-hmm.
anything ever follow you home, or do you feel like something has ever followed you home?
Well, that was actually a concern early on. I live with my nephew, and he actually
Mm-hmm.
made a joke one time. He's totally for what I do. He thinks, oh, totally cool. He's got his own life. But he made a joke one time about something following back from the places I go to. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about it. I'm like, So I'm glad you asked that question because I'm a big follower in the old school paranormal researchers and the way they would do this. By that, the most famous, more people will know Ed and Lorraine Warren. The
Mm-hmm.
Conjuring movies were based off of their real life cases. So the movies make it a little more flashy than it actually was, but
Right.
they're still based on their actual cases. So you got Ed and Lorraine Warren, you got Hans Holzer, Ed Warren's nephew, John Zaffis. He picked up Family Torch, and now John Zaffis, he's in his 60s, but he's Obi-Wan Kenobi of paranormal researchers. But he was trained by Ed Warren because that's his uncle.
Right.
But the way they make it very clear, especially John Zaffis these days, he's like, people go watch all these ghost hunting TV shows and think, oh, that looks cool. They have no idea the prep and what goes into it and the risks they take when they go into these hunting locations and they start challenging what they think is just an empty room and think it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
And then something follows them home, So what these old school paranormal researchers do, they have steps they take before and after they go and do an investigation. A lot of that also depends, if you're a religious person, okay. If you are, there are steps you can take, certain prayers. If you're not per se a religious person, there are still steps you can take that will protect you just in case. You know,
Right.
like with me, for example, I'll bring sage or Palo Santo wood or sea salt. There are certain prayers I may recite before and after. I'll tell you a quick true story that kind of proves that this stuff is real. So you've heard of Zach Bagans and Ghost Adventures,
Mm-hmm.
right? He has a museum in Las Vegas. He opened a couple of years ago. It's his haunted museum. All the items in there are either haunted, cursed, for whatever reason, every weird kind of item you can think of. So I did a collab video with another YouTube channel there last year, and we're waiting outside, and I was wearing 2 religious bracelets that were given to me by 2 of my sisters. Right? I wasn't taking any chances. So they don't let you film inside the house, but they said that night it was close to Halloween. They're like, you can take pictures outside. So I'm walking up to these two scarecrows, and all of a sudden I feel my wrist heating up. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I realized I was getting, even though I wasn't inside the house, I was close to it. I was like a few feet from the wall. And something in that house, on that property, was reacting to the religious bracelets I was wearing. I was wearing a Benedictine bracelet and an All Saints bracelet. And it wasn't the bracelets that were heating up, it was the skin around them on both of my wrists. It felt like hot little pinpricks. And
wow.
that tour lasted about an hour and a half to 2 hours walking through the house. It was very interesting. But off and on throughout that 2 hours, I kept feeling my wrist heating up because whatever's in that house didn't like the fact I was wearing religious bracelets. So it's that and other things that have happened to me. That would take up a couple hours right there, your show, so I won't go into all of them. But little instances like that have proven to me that not only is the afterlife, paranormal, ghost, whatever you want to call it, not only is it real, but there are real world defenses that you and I, as the living, can take to protect ourselves from these things being attached. And one of the main questions always comes up in this topic, and I'll bring it up, is Ouija boards. Very controversial subject, as you know, in the paranormal community.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I won't touch them. I mean, I literally will not physically touch one because I've been in a circumstance where something attached to me with barely picking it up for a few seconds, and then myself and a friend of mine almost got into a fist fight 10 minutes later because he had touched it as well. Yeah. So those things hold on to energy. And I could go on and on about the Ouija board, but I'll sum it up in pretty much one sentence. The danger with the Ouija board is that you have absolutely no idea if what you're communicating with, not who, if what you're communicating with was ever human to begin with. That is my issue with the Ouija board. So it's better to play it safe. If some people do it and they'll do it properly, it's a doorway, so you don't leave a door open. Right. So they take those steps, but I still, I advise friends and people that ask me, I'm like, don't touch those things. They're promoted as a game in stores, and they're not. Okay, people think it's a game. I can go on that, but yeah, that's my advice when it comes to Ouija boards. That this stuff is out there, it's real, and if you don't respect it and protect yourself, it can affect you, it can follow you, and not just you. This can follow your family and the next generation in your family and the next generation.
Wow. Now, okay. Well, now I have a really maybe out there question. Have you ever witnessed or been a part of an exorcism, or do you believe in exorcism?
I have never been present in when exorcism. I believe in them. Yes. Okay. They're the ones that don't get all the publicity. I think those are the real ones. Okay. The ones that have all this publicity, I'm going to be initially skeptical of. And Ed Warren's nephew, would I be present at an exorcism? Possibly, if there were, obviously a couple of priests there, people that knew what they were doing and experienced in dealing with this. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, because I find it kind of fascinating. But if it's some amateurs and they're just like going off what they saw in a movie, I'll be like, see you later, good luck with that. But an interesting story, Ed Warren's nephew, John Zaffis, Matt Rosevalley knows him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was actually at Shockfest last year when we were there.
Yeah, and actually Zach Baggins is going to be at Shockfest. I think he's going to be at Shockfest this year.
In LA or Vegas?
In LA.
Oh, really? Okay, that's in November, right?
I'm pretty sure next month. I'm pretty sure he is. I know they just announced him for something in regards to LA.
Oh, okay.
So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. The most interesting story I've heard on a personal level about an exorcism was from John Zaffis. He was discussing it at Shockfest. And the short version of the story on that, because it's kind of extended, but he was assisting a priest in an exorcism, and the girl was tied to a chair. And they're right in the middle of it. The priest is doing all his work, and John Zaffis is there assisting, right? And at one point, John Zaffis, he said he didn't realize it when it happened until it was over with. But at one point, the girl in the chair levitated. But he was so in the moment of the chair itself levitated with the girl in it. It came up off the ground. And he was so in the moment, he's like, no, get down. And he put his hands on her shoulders and pushed her back to the ground. And he was like letting the priest finish. And then afterwards, he was talking to the priest and he's like, holy crap, she levitated. And the priest was like, no shit. But he was so in the moment, he was just thinking to control her because she's all over the place. But the chair was, and John Zaffis has been doing this like 40, 50 years almost. He's in his 60s. He's been doing it since he was 17. Okay. He doesn't have to BS about this stuff. He's seen the real thing long before it was fashionable in all these TV shows. So, you know, he's one of the most credible people in this field. So, you know, and that's why, like, a lot of the ghost hunter shows I watch, I'm going to guess about 40% of what they show is going to be fake or staged, you know, but I go in with it, you know what, I'm watching this show to be entertained, and they're traveling around on a road trip. That's what I like, you know. Yeah. So, you know, you take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny is that I didn't realize it until you started talking about your show and thinking about how we met and stuff. I've had your card in my desk drawer for this entire year.
Oh, you are awesome.
It's like, seriously, I have like I have a bajillion cards from like every convention I've been to, because that's just the thing. You come home with a wad of business cards from people. But it's all, for some reason, yours and like maybe 2 or 3 other ones have for some reason always just been in this drawer. I don't know why. So it's just kind of weird. I don't know.
It's your special drawer for your favorites. Special
drawer. Oh, my candy and stuff goes in there usually. So
Right on. Yeah, I remember that because we didn't interact that much at the convention itself, but everybody at the end of the convention just went to the hotel bar and we were just wiped out. We were just sitting around the whole bar like, what, 4 or 5 in the morning, just chatting.
God. Yeah.
And that one tall dude was like trying to massage your shoulders and the shoulders of every girl at the bar. And I'm like,
oh, that weird guy. Yeah, I forgot.
The really tall weird guy, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, could you not, please? Like, I'm trying to stay drunk right now.
Yeah, he was like, he took the hand and he let it go, but I could see how uncomfortable you were with that. You know, and I was just like, but yeah, and that's actually these conventions. I really like the paranormal conventions, and whenever they get John Zaffis, that's usually like it has a good turnout. That was the main reason I go to Shock Fest, because I wanted to. I met him like 3 times now in person. One of the nicest guys you're ever going to encounter. But that's actually how I came about meeting up with My Valley Pass. Was at a paranormal convention last year, because they had one here. My Valley Pass works in conjunction with another company called the Valley Relics Museum, and it's more of a pop culture museum. So you'll see like signs and all this other kind of stuff, cars and merchandise from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I saw, or like fast food joint neon signs that went out of business 20, 30 years ago, but they have it hanging up on a wall, and it's just cool as hell, So they worked with, My Valley Pass worked with Valley Relics to hold this convention. It was called LA's Most Haunted. So Bridget Marcourt was there from Girls Next Door, and she's a huge paranormal enthusiast. I mean, she always has.
I love her.
I follow her on Ghost Magnet, and she's always upbeat. I met her in person, talked to her for a couple of minutes. She's absolute sweetheart. Because I got in line to take a picture with her, and as soon as I got up there, I started chatting with her. I'm like, oh, I've been here, and I've been here, and we started exchanging the same haunted places that we've been to. There's like 40 people in line that want to take a picture, and I'm like, excuse me, can't you see we're falling in love? Or at least I am.
Having a conversation, rude.
Exactly. But she was just absolute sweetheart, and she was very engaging with everyone, and she's very sincere. That's, and because I was a fan of hers before that, and then just meeting her in person, she is sincere about all this stuff, getting into it. She has an open mind to it. So it was nice meeting her. And through that, that convention, that event, one thing led to another, and I contacted My Valley Pass. So My Valley Pass is basically the San Fernando Valley's #1 visitor's guide. I almost said tour guide, but that too. #1 visitor's guide. Now, when people think of LA, they automatically think of Hollywood or the beaches or, all that glamour and glitz, and unless you're a resident of the LA area, you don't really, aren't familiar with the San Fernando Valley. But the San Fernando Valley has its own rich, unique, bizarre, fascinating, paranormal, pick one kind of history to it. So what My Valley Pass does is it promotes everything about the history, keeping the history of San Fernando Valley alive. And they do this through museums, through tours, through events, recommending the nightlife, where to go for some nightlife or restaurants. Even now, with all this crappy pandemic stuff going on, the whole world feeling like it's in lockdown, they still compensate for the pandemic by promoting, okay, this is what's open. You can go here and do this. And these are the kind of tours we're holding right now, just so, and it's still, what it does is it promotes the local economy. So everyone is helping each other out. That's why I love working with them. And they're just really nice people on top of all that.
Oh, that's so awesome. I know a lot of people in the horror and paranormal community are very nice people. Like, it's just so weird that just how nice and accepting everybody is. It's great.
Yeah, because everybody wants to share their story.
Yeah.
Like this happened to me. Like what happened with me last week in Austin. I couldn't wait to tell people. I was like texting people. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got some real evidence. And the thing is, that scanner, it wasn't my scanner. It belonged to the tour company I was with. And I told him you can hear me in the video, and I told him, because there was a husband and wife team, and I told the husband, I'm like, well, do me a favor. I've seen enough ghost adventures, and if there's any little stick figure jumping on my shoulder, wait till I get back to California to tell me. And he started laughing. And sure enough, there wasn't any little stick figure on my shoulder, but there were some of them around me for the most part.
That is so
and
crazy.
Some of them were like, yeah, because it's like really, they were like odd shapes too. It was weird because that restaurant, it was a bar restaurant, or mostly a bar, it had 3 stories to it. And it's haunted by a little girl and a man, the man who killed her. But the thing is, they stay on the opposite side of the bar and they don't cross over. So in the scanner video, you see a little tiny stick figure bouncing around me. And then when I move a little ways, like a few feet over here, you see a much taller stick figure right next to me.
That's creepy, crazy, and cool all at the same time.
Yeah, because the husband, I texted his wife yesterday. He's like, hey, I'm about finished editing the video. I'm about 80% done. So I just wanted to touch base. Was there anything come up on the scanner? Anything interesting? I said, if not, no problem. I just want to check before I finish editing the video. She's like, let me check with him. And so this morning, he sent me the footage that he got from the scanner. It's about 20 minutes long. So I'm sitting there. I was at work. I'm sitting there. I'm watching it. And I'm like, oh, crap. It felt like watching a Ghost Adventures episode, but I was in it. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
This time it's not Zach Bagans with little stick figures jumping around him on an infrared. This time it's me. Oh, is there a question?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, it's a comment. It says, last time I was in Austin, something unseen caught me when I slipped in the shower and saved me from a fall.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That's crazy. Oh, yeah. Oh, Ron, sorry, real quick. Ron, I think I'm cursed. I haven't had a date in a few years. Dating's overrated. The economy sucks right now. There's too much inflation. So you're saving yourself money.
Okay. You haven't found someone worthy of your time. That's it. Okay. That's another idea I have. That's another idea I have. I joke with some of my female friends. I'm like, I've got all this, because women come to me for like advice, like dating advice. And they're like, oh man, that's great advice. Thank you. I'm like, yeah. So I joke with my female friends. I'm like, we need to start a podcast where we give relationship advice. And I'm thinking of calling it, do as we say, not as we've done. But yeah, so I worked with My Valley Pass a couple of months ago because they normally, before all this pandemic hit, I was actually working with them to set up I can't go into detail because I've been sworn to secrecy and they'll break my pinkies if I talk about it. But there's a tour. Yeah. Well, when it comes out, we'll talk about it once we're off the air. Okay. But right now I've been sworn to secrecy about it. but it's a tour that they asked me about. It's like, we want to set up this tour, and this is what's going to make it unique. And when they told me, I was like, whoa, because I live here in LA. I know all the paranormal tours, different types that are here. No one in the LA area is doing what My Valley Pass is setting up right now. And it was about to go underway, and then the zombie apocalypse hit. So they kind of put it on hold. But once everything settles down and they start it up again, it's going to be the most unique paranormal tour in the LA area, if not California, just because of this, just because of something different they're doing. And I was like, oh, that sounds so cool, you know.
That does.
So yeah, so we were working on getting all that set up, getting the specifics and logistics of like, okay, where do we go, and you know, the people involved and everything, and we're working on all of that. And then this pandemic hit, so they're like, okay, we got to readjust. And so what they're doing now is they're doing virtual tours. They have a virtual film tour. They have a virtual brewery and retro tour. Okay, you can go to their website, myvalleypass.com. It'll show all the different events that they're participating in, all the tours that they're setting up. Oh, and I don't want to forget, they go into it more on the website as well. But you know what's really cool about them? You know what myvalleypass.com has brought back? The drive-in theaters.
I'm wondering if this is the same one I was just looking into not that long ago. Is it the one where they advertise where it's kind of like when you go to the drive-in, you get like the radio station you have to tune into, like a special station you tune into?
Yeah, my schedule's been kind of wonky. I haven't been able to go to the drive-in. I would love to, because that was a big thing when I was a kid. I'm showing my age now. I was a kid in the 70s, little kid in the 70s. And the big night when my parents took us to the drive-in, that was a special event. Like, all right, you know, and, you know, that is one thing that I hope, you know, after this pandemic is over, that's going to be, people will still do, is go to the drive-in. I hope, you know, from all this crap that's happened, there's going to be obviously some good that came out of it. There has to be. And I hope, at least on a financial, local community level, that it brings back the drive-in to a certain extent, that people just remember having fun there, you know, and they, you know, because that is something of a bygone era that I wish would come back, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And My Valley Pass has been working with some drive-ins, and they're still they're actually working on something else too, a little bit different, but still with the drive-in concept. So that's really interesting to check out their website for that. I'm sorry, once I get going, I'm a Gemini. Once you get us going, you don't show up.
It's good. So, I'm here for you.
Awesome. So, but yeah. Did you? Yeah. Any? I feel like I feel like a presidential moderator. I'm not giving you a chance to talk.
No, it's okay. Actually, I have. Did you want me to show the video that you had up on the Instagram?
Sure. You have it queued up.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
I do.
Okay, go for it.
It's for the My Valley Pass, right?
Right. The virtual bazaar tour.
Okay. Well, here's the guys. Let's get.
Are you missing our bus tours? Then look no further. I'm Eric with the YouTube channel Wildcard Journeys, where I make videos about travel and the paranormal, and I'm inviting you to come take a journey on the San Fernando Valley Virtual Bazaar Tour. Come experience secret places, crime scenes, hauntings, and true oddities that can only be found in the San Fernando Valley. Now, the valley has long been the location of many historic and eerie scenes that are not found anywhere else. This virtual tour will truly change how you see the San Fernando Valley. For dates and tickets, visit myvalleypass.com, and we'll see you on the journey.
Very cool. The guys, the link is in the description below. Click on it, check it out. Real quick, Snoop DeVille 3, thank you for joining. And then Richard said the drive-ins there. Richard's from Texas. He said the drive-ins here have flourished since the pandemic started.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, given the restrictions of the pandemic, it's the perfect night out, because you don't have to like be next to anybody. You can be in your own car and doing your own thing, and you're going to be 10, 15 feet away from people as it is.
Yeah, and then you don't have to go to concession, because they can allow you to bring your own food in for a change, like we didn't before. But
Yeah, food and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
But
we had one in Santa Maria when I lived there like 15 years ago. And I liked it a lot. And after that, it was like I'd never seen a drive-in since. Like, it's kind of nice.
yeah, I mean, I hope it sticks around long after the pandemic is over and done with. I mean, that would be a at least a positive side effect of all the crap that's happened this year, you know. And I mean, it helps the local economy. It I think it helps people's stress, you know, because everything that's happening, people can't go out to catch a movie or get a drink or get a bite to eat somewhere. So you're stuck at home. That's going to build up stress. Just so able to go out and even see a movie that came out 20, 30 years ago that you've seen before, even doing that would be a blast. I think one of their more
Yeah.
recent showings was Grease. Okay, they'll show Grease. They show one of the old Batman movies. I mean, that's fun to go to see it on the big screen again. I would totally do that. But
Absolutely.
yeah, so to give you an idea of like some of the things I'll cover this weekend, because the virtual bazaar tour the Halloween special that we're doing is going to be this weekend, Sunday, October 25th. I don't want to give up the time yet. I'm kind of spacing on the time, but it'll be on the website. You can get tickets for it are available at the myvalleypass.com website. And basically, it's going to be probably an hour to an hour and a half long, something like along those lines. It really depends on number of questions I may get and what we go into. But basically, it's going to be the virtual bazaar tour, but with more of an emphasis on obviously the paranormal and the supernatural and the haunting aspects because it's the month of October and it's a Halloween time. So that's what people want to hear about. So if you want, I could go over a couple of the topics I'm going to discuss,
For
that
sure.
we'll cover. Let me see. Have to get my glasses. You want to see something funny?
Oh, I love it.
So I've been a black guy, I got my glasses, I can survive.
There you go.
So, and keep in mind, these places I'm going to mention, they're all within the San Fernando Valley. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this one is not so much paranormal, but it does have a unique history with LA. It's the Manson Caves.
Oh.
Are you familiar with them?
The Charlie Manson caves?
Yes.
Where they were when they were in that movie studio set or whatever that they kind of bamboozled that man for in that area or whatnot.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
so it's on. Look at it on Span Ranch, and it was an old movie ranch where they filmed like dozens of Western TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1968, about a year before the Sharon Tate killings, Charles Manson and his group were just kind of like hanging together as a group, kind of like vagabonds, like from place to place. And they found this place, Span Ranch, and they kind of hooked up a deal with the man who owned it. He let them stay there. And in return, the female members of the Manson family were very generous with their time with this man, if you get my meaning. So he was happy for them to stay there. Yeah, he was
Nothing's
getting all
free.
kinds of bonuses. Yeah. And then it became even more notorious because a year later, they killed Sharon Tate and those other people. And they actually went back to this ranch in hiding. Okay. And they abandoned, I believe, one of their cars there. And there was an actual cave that they had kind of hid out in for a while. And you can even go there now. Everyone is like, if you show up and then you ask about the cave, everybody that lives there will be like, yeah, it's right there on the corner. Go here and there. And somebody had actually took a rock and carved into the rock, about this big, the Manson Cave. And then they broke it in half because they don't want people coming out there and doing weird rituals, which they have. They have found evidence of people going out there and doing all kinds of weird rituals in this cave. Yeah. So
wow.
You got the Manson Cave. I'll go into detail about that. See, you've got also, speaking of ghost adventures, you've got the Reseda House, which was just featured on an episode of Ghost Adventures within the last year or so, I want to say. And this place is hardcore as far as haunted.
Is that the one in New Jersey?
No, it's here. It's here in LA. It's here in the San Fernando Valley.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm
And
sorry. I'm thinking of a different one.
yeah, this man, he was in some kind of accident and he was paraplegic. And he was being given all these drugs. Well, he didn't want to like take all these drugs because he said, you know, the only thing I have left is my mind. I don't want to lose that. So he would give these drugs to his friends, and it was in this house. It was just him and his friends, and they were all hardcore drug addicts. You know, it's actually kind of sad when you go into the detail of it. But he passed away, and then all kinds of weird things started happening there. Ghost adventures showed up. They did an investigation. At one point, they learned that someone has died in every room in that house.
Damn.
Yeah, not just one or two people. Every room in that house, someone has died. So, you know, so you can imagine how heavy the paranormal activity is in that house. Okay, at that rate.
Whoa. Now, do you think
So,
something like that is with as many deaths that's happened in that house? Do you think it's um, paranormal induced, I guess, if you will, or do you think it might just be all coincidental that somebody just so happened to die in every single room of the house?
well, keep in mind also what the okay now this is going back into why I love reading about the old school paranormal researchers, the Ed and Lorraine
Mhm.
Warren, the Hans Holzers, the John Zappis. They were, you know, they were the pioneers in this field. And when they talk about it, when you read their books, they explain it in a way that the demonic, the negative, is attracted and feeds on people in their lowest point in their lives, and then they bring them even lower. So you have people who are at a low point, they get into drugs, which brings them down even lower. So they're spiritually tapped out, they're emotionally tapped out, and this is a smorgasbord for negative and evil spirits. So if you have an entire household full of people on drugs doing very negative things with their life, they're probably ostracized by their family. So you have depression sinking in. This is like blood in the water for evil spirits. If you think of them as sharks, that's like blood in the water. So there may have been a little bit, but all that tragedy just brought even more. You know,
Okay. Okay.
you know, which is why they even say for people like us who are into the paranormal and want to research this, you know, uh, the old school paranormal researchers, they emphasize, you know, you can't do this 24/7. You can't live 24/7 paranormal. You have to take a break from it once in a while and have something that has nothing to do with it, something positive in your life, you know, whatever it may be. You know, if you have a certain religious faith, that's a big plus, okay? Um, but, you know, because the paranormal, the origin stories behind these locations, 99% of the time, they're tragic stories. You know, the place I was at last week on the ghost tour,
Mhm.
the backstory for that, it goes, the tour guide goes into detail, but it's a tragic story about a little girl, you know, and that's why it touched me so much because, like I said, I'm an uncle, and when I heard this little girl's story, you know, for the first time in any of my videos, because I've gone on several ghost tours and everything else, but for the first time, I really just stopped everything I was doing. I handed my camera to the tour guide. I'm like, can you just film me? Because I want to talk to her, and I felt very emotional. You know, it was weird. It's the first time I felt so emotional on one of those tours, but I bent down to one knee so I wouldn't be standing over her. You know, I would be like eye level because I'm used to talking to children and they feel more at
Mhm.
ease if an adult bends down and talks to them at eye level. So that's what
Mhm.
I did. And I was just saying, hey, you know, and I felt compelled to say to her, you know, you don't have to remain here. You know, I said that twice. I said, you don't have to remain here. You can move on and join the people you love. They're waiting for you. You know, so I don't know. I just felt the need to say that because
Mhm.
it kind of was sad to hear of a little girl that may be trapped there in the afterlife and unable to move on. You know, so that's
Wow.
the message I wanted to convey to her is that you don't have to stay there. And but yeah, to get back to your original question, you know, when people participate in really negative things, if they're a negative person and, you know, just the kind of person that you don't, maybe they're not into drugs and all that, but they're just not a good person. They deceive and they manipulate people, and they enjoy that. We've all met people like that just,
Yeah.
they're just not a good person. Okay, that kind of thing can attract evil spirits, like blood in the water. It's like, oh, you're one of us, our kind. And then you just, things happen around people like that. The situation where I mentioned earlier that I almost got into a fist fight with a friend of mine, the way that came about, there was this woman, she was a bartender. Her boyfriend was Native American, but he was a drug user. I think he beat her, all these other negative things. He was just a terrible, terrible person. But he was an artist, and she had a arrowhead that he had made, and she showed me. And without thinking about it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I showed it to my buddy, and he picked up and he looked at it. This was an arrowhead this guy had made, okay? And we both held it for like a few seconds to say, oh, okay. We put it down. Within 10, 15 minutes, we were on the sidewalk, almost in a fist fight. Just because that, and we were sitting there having a beer, having a good time, just chilling. And then that's one of the things I try to tell people when, at least from my personal experience and what I've seen and what I've studied, and an early indication that there might be trouble there of attachment is a person flies off into an unreasonable anger. Like it's not like this person, and it's not like them to get angry at a drop of a hat like that over something like that. So that's how it was with my friend and I. Okay, he and I aren't friends anymore, but that's a whole other different story. But because that Native American guy, was so into negative things, and he was an artist, he put his energy. What does an artist do? They put their energy into their work. So he put his negative energy, whether it was intentional or not, into his work. And here we are. We just happen to pick it up. And a few seconds of holding it affected us like that.
Damn.
Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, that house, I mean, the history of it, it's really kind of tragic, the people that are there, and all you can really do is hope that they find help, but they got to want to find help. They got to make that choice individually for themselves. So the Rosita House, we talked about that in the Bizarre Tour. What's another one I was going to mention? Okay. Oh, this one, it's not really paranormal. It's more of an urban legend. But if you know any women that are like pregnant, really far along, and want to get it over with, I have a restaurant for them.
Ooh.
Okay. It's I might mispronounce the name. It's an Italian restaurant, Coyote, and it's here in LA. And basically, they have what's called a maternity salad. For some reason, for years, women have been going here. They order a specific salad with a specific dressing on it, and say like they're 8-9 months and they're past their due date. Okay, this salad, time and time again, has helped them like boom go into labor. That's why they call it the maternity salad. And it's when I was researching this, I brought it up. I found news clips of local news stations. They interviewed women there. They're like, "Yeah, I want to get this going. I want to get this baby out of me." And they're there.
I have to look that up. That is insane.
Yeah, it's I believe it's here in Studio City. Yeah, it says right here. You can even look up Hillary Duff is the latest celebrity to turn to the salad for some help with labor and delivery. According to E! News, Duff, who's expecting a daughter this was a few years ago, Duff, who's expecting a daughter with her boyfriend, Matthew Coma, shared a photo of the salad in her Instagram story recently with the caption, "This salad is supposed to make you go into labor. Pizza, don't let me down." And that's the Coyote Restaurant. That's spelled Caioti. So if you have any women, pregnant friends that want to get going on this, send them to this restaurant.
And let us know how it turns out.
Yeah, and even the people that work there, they were like, yeah, we just make a salad. What happens to them afterwards? Like,
What happens if you're not pregnant? It's just a regular old salad. You don't get nothing magical.
They say, of course, it's like I guess their own recipe for the dressing, and it's a restaurant, so they're not gonna share their recipe. But they're like, yeah, just it's just a regular salad with our regular dressing and our own ingredients. But
that sounds funny to me.
So let's see. I have so many here, but there are, it'd take up a few hours. And like I said, I'm sworn to secrecy on a lot of these with Oscar. with myvalleypass.com. Nicest guy in the world. That's why I'm like, I joke, he is like one of the most nicest, easygoing guys you want to meet. And I joke, oh, he'll break my thumbs if I talk about it. But I did actually have to sign a non-disclosure agreement to, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about, they put a lot of work into researching it, and because these are on their tours. So once the pandemic, all this pandemic mess is over with, you can actually, everything I talk about in my tour, you can take their tour bus and go to all these locations. Now, the advantage the virtual tour has right now is that I can show locations that they can't get to in a bus.
Right.
Either because it'd be on someone's private property or just there's no road to get there. So the virtual tour has that little bit of an edge that I can show pictures and talk about places that they couldn't go themselves. And I love research. Once I find something that has a paranormal tie to it, I'm all over the internet with that. So I love digging into it and finding the personal story about it. But,
that's very cool. I'm excited to see this. I'm really excited to see this. I'm gonna try to check it out this weekend. And just to remind you guys again, just for some of you guys that came in late, there is a link in the description for My Valley Pass, a virtual tour of haunted locations in the San Fernando Valley. I'm excited.
Okay. Do I have time for one more haunted story?
Absolutely.
Okay. I didn't know if you had somebody coming up next. I don't want to be rude.
No, you're good. You're good.
This is about a haunted strip club.
Oh la la.
Yeah. And actually, I found out about this one and I brought it to Oscar. I'm like, well, I got one. I go, but it's a strip club. So is that cool? And he's like, and I told him the story. He's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay, I can make it family friendly. So basically there's a club here in the San Fernando Valley. And back in 2011, there was actually a shooting there. There was a couple of dancers didn't get along. One had a boyfriend, one had a husband. So the husband and boyfriend didn't get along. So one night the husband was there waiting with some of his boys on the boyfriend. They were going to like beat him up or something. So the girl calls her boyfriend and says, hey, he's here with some of his boys waiting on you. So the boyfriend shows up. All the doormen know him. And like, hey, what's going on? He walks up to the husband sitting at the table, pulls out a gun, and in front of a full nightclub, shoots him dead. Boom, right there. The guy's buddies bail. Everyone starts screaming and running. Okay, I talked to the head doorman. He was the head doorman at the time, and he was also became a star witness in the case. He's like, yeah, Eric. He's like, I thought I was going to die because I'm standing right there, like not even 15, 20 feet away. When he kills this guy, shoots him in the chair. He falls out of the chair. He stands over him and finishes him off with one more bullet. Then he lifts up, points a gun at him, says, Todd, where's so-and-so, his girlfriend? And Todd's like, she's in there. Gets and grabs her. And because this guy was like a big-time criminal who knew what he was doing, he didn't have a car. So he and his girlfriend made their getaway on foot. I couldn't make this up. Okay. This is all true. They're caught shortly after that. Big surprise. She gets out on bail and disappears. No one's seen her since. So she's probably on the other side of the country. He's still in prison, will be probably for the rest of his life. So here's where the haunted part comes in. It's reportedly haunted, not by one, but by 3 ghosts.
Oh.
Now, yeah, because this place, it used to be like a big restaurant cafeteria type way back in the day before it was a club. And one night I was talking to one of the doormen. The doorman's actually a good friend of mine. He was telling me that one night these 2 psychics came in. And they weren't there to do any kind of like ghost hunt or anything like that. They were just there to hang out, have a drink, and whatever. And they started talking. They're like, yeah, you've got 3 ghosts here. And they're like, 3? And they're like, yeah. 2 of them are like an elderly man and woman, So I'm thinking they were probably the previous owners when it was a restaurant. And they were still kind of tied to the place because it was a restaurant. And they said the 3rd one was definitely the guy that was killed there. And they said the feeling they got from him was more than anything like kind of an embarrassment because he thought he was just going there for a fight. And he had no idea this guy was going to pull a gun and shoot him right there. So that is, that's a restless spirit right there. A lot of ghosts can haunt a location if it's a sudden death, or a ghost can haunt a location. There's 4 categories. In one of my videos, I go over the whole categories. But there's what's called a residual haunting. And it's kind of like they're stuck to one place because they have a really good memory there, or they were always there all the time, and it's a thing of repetition. So in his case, I think it's because he was just killed, suddenly, unexpectedly. And, does he know he's dead? Who knows? But yeah, that is the ghost of the haunted strip club.
Wow. Man, I want to go on some of these adventures with you. They sound like so much fun.
I would love to go. Hey, you live, you're like, is it Inland Empire? Is that incorrect?
No, I'm in Bakersfield. I'm like, I'm like right in between LA and Fresno.
Oh, okay. All right. Anything outside of the LA area, I just like, oh, it's so far away. That's why everybody lives in LA thinks that. But you know what? If you want, okay, I can do a little bit of research because I've got, if you can see my books like behind me here, basically like this one. What? See the title there?
Yes, Amulets and Talismans.
Right. Over here, I got.
Oh, wow.
Superstitions. Let's see. This is part of I just picked this up. This is an encyclopedia series, 24 books that were printed 50 years ago. It's a set of 24. They go for about $500 to $600 on Amazon. I found them in a used bookstore out here for $85.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was so happy to find that. So, I mean, my interest in the paranormal covers a little bit of everything, from ghosts to the UFOs to Bigfoot to Chupacabra. Chupacabra is my personal white whale. Okay, I will find him one day. I know he's out there. Okay.
Nobody really talks about the Chupacabra anymore. I remember it was like at the late 90s. It was a big thing for the Chupacabras because it was like, oh, all these crop circles and the Chupacabras, and now we've got these like Fox 8 o'clock special mockumentaries on them, and X-Files is covering it now, and nobody really talks about it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you go to the Southwest, they're more along the Mexican border. There are some, they say, in Puerto Rico, but predominantly the majority of stories are on the Mexican border, both sides of the border. So you go to Texas, southern Arizona, New Mexico, you'll find more stories down there. But
really?
I was showing my little Doctor Strange library, or they call it the Library of the Paranormal, because I got pretty much books on every area covering the earth. So if you want, I can look up what's weird in Bakersfield, and then maybe I can drive out there and we can do like some kind of collab with your podcast and my channel and just like, track something down.
That would be cool. There is a lot of stuff here in Bakersfield, because I'm originally from Girls Gore and Gin, and right. We occasionally cover paranormal, and we have the famous Padre Hotel here, and Buck Owens' Crystal Palace. Yeah, it's I think if you read it, it would probably refresh your memory. Well, I mean, at least for California, it's like kind of a known place, I guess. And then
the Padre Hotel.
The Padre Hotel in Bakersfield. There's a lot behind that. There's actually a little girl who died in a fire there because there was a big fire like way back in like the early 1900s or whatever with it, and a little girl got trapped there. And there is a little kid's burned handprint in the wall, and they've painted over it several times, and it keeps bleeding through. And they can't paint over it.
That's actually like a very common phenomenon.
Yeah, but we've got some weird little things like that too. But that place is like very much known for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you know any place local out there, and they would be willing to work with us, it'd be like kind of a crossway to promote everybody. We can promote your podcast, promote my channel, we can promote the hotel. Because you'll find a lot of the smaller independently owned hotels, especially these days, because the paranormal is so big, they will promote, oh, we have a haunted room, and people will line up to rent that room. Bridgemar Court does it all the time.
Yeah, I'll have to get a hold of them and see if they'll do it. I don't remember what their response was because we actually we did it for Girls Scoring Gin, and we actually went there, and I think we had to sneak up to like a little balcony area, and we bought drinks and we sat there. Somebody saw us, but they didn't really stop us from what we were doing because we were just sitting there. But I'll have to ask because they did change hands a few years back and become like a bigger, more modern, upscale kind of place to go now. So because
Right
it's got
on.
like a bar and a little restaurant in it and everything now. So
Hey, if you know of any place out there that would be open to it, or something that we can just create on our own, make an event out of, hey, let me know. I'm all for it.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
I'm all
awesome.
about the road trip.
I love to drive too.
Hmm.
Road trips are fun. Uh, well, sir, it looks like we are coming up to the end of this show. Do you have any last words for our creeps watching
Uh,
us?
yes, thank you everyone for joining us. I really appreciate it. I know Oscar with myvalleypass.com, he really appreciates it. Once again, it's the San Fernando Valley Virtual Bazaar Tour. It's the Halloween special, you could say. It's going to be held this weekend, Sunday, October 25th. The exact time escapes me, but it's all the times and ticket information is available at myvalleypass.com. My channel, my YouTube channel is Wildcard Journeys, where I hit the road to make videos about the paranormal, various urban legends, or whatever might be out there on the road. And like Joe Gonzalez, okay, we got to hit the road.
Yes. Fill up them gas tanks or the price goes up
Oh,
more.
all, all over it, all over it. Thank you so much for having me as your guest. I really appreciate it. You are an absolute sweetheart, and we gotta meet up soon somewhere, either L.A., Vegas, Bakersfield. We gotta meet somewhere.
So we're absolutely, yes. We talked for so long and I had such a great conversation with you about everything. I mean, I was in that bar for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. That was a long weekend.
It was. It was fun though. It was so much fun. I miss that.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed next year. So
awesome. Yeah,
well, thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate it. You guys check out that link below and check
thanks
out
for
the
having
show.
me.
Check out the show. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys tomorrow night for Twitch Tuesday. Have a good night, creeps.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great night. Thanks, everyone.